Thank you for listening. This course was created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional podcasts, books, newsletters, and cool merchandise await. Let's get started. Content safety plays a central role in the responsible deployment of artificial intelligence systems, particularly those that generate or curate content for human audiences. The primary purpose of content safety is to prevent harmful or offensive outputs that could expose users to harassment, discrimination, or psychological distress. By implementing safety mechanisms, organizations demonstrate their commitment to protecting users from abusive interactions and ensuring that systems do not perpetuate or amplify societal harms. Content safety also aligns with legal and ethical obligations, helping organizations avoid regulatory penalties and meet their duty of care toward users. Beyond legal compliance, content safety preserves organizational reputation, as public trust is easily eroded if systems produce offensive or toxic outputs. In this sense, content safety is not merely a technical safeguard, but a reflection of an organization's values and priorities in serving diverse and global audiences responsibly. The dimensions of harm that content safety seeks to address are broad and complex, extending well beyond obvious profanity. Toxicity, including hate speech, insults, and discriminatory language, represents one of the most recognized categories of harmful content, but it is not the only one. Violence and extremism also pose major concerns, as AI systems could inadvertently generate or promote radicalizing material. Misinformation and manipulation risks present subtler harms, where content that appears factual is used to deceive or exploit. Harassment and bullying can arise in interactive settings, where users exploit systems to produce targeted insults or threats. These dimensions demonstrate that harm is multifaceted and context-dependent, requiring safety measures that are both comprehensive and adaptable. Recognizing these categories helps teams articulate the boundaries of acceptable outputs and prioritize resources for moderation and filtering. The foundation of any content safety strategy lies in policy. Organizations must establish clear content standards that define what categories of speech or material are prohibited. These standards should reflect both legal obligations and organizational values, ensuring alignment with the broader mission. Policies typically cover prohibited categories such as hate speech, violent imagery, or misinformation, but the exact scope must be adapted to context. Enforcement is equally important. A policy is meaningless unless it is consistently applied. Transparency in policy communication strengthens trust, as users understand what rules exist, why they matter, and how enforcement decisions are made. By grounding technical measures in well-defined policies, organizations create a foundation for content safety that can withstand scrutiny, evolve over time, and provide clarity for both users and internal teams. Classification models are a common technical method for implementing content safety policies. These models, often trained on supervised datasets of harmful and benign examples, can detect toxic or prohibited material in text, images, or other media. Thresholds are established to determine the severity of a violation and which category of harm it falls into, whether toxicity, violence, or misinformation. Because new risks constantly emerge, these models must be continuously updated with fresh datasets that reflect evolving patterns of abuse and harm. Integration into AI systems allows for automated checks at scale, reducing the need for manual review of every output. Yet, these models are not infallible. They require careful calibration and oversight to balance accuracy and fairness. Classification systems exemplify how machine learning can enforce safety standards, but also illustrate the challenges of applying statistical models to nuanced and context-sensitive issues. Rule-based filters provide a simpler approach to content safety, often serving as the first line of defense. Keyword detection can identify obvious violations such as slurs or explicit references to violence, while pattern matching can capture structured forms of abuse like repeated spam or coordinated harassment. These methods are easy to implement and computationally efficient, making them attractive for systems that require rapid filtering. However, their scope is limited. Keyword lists cannot capture the full richness of language and may either overblock benign content or miss subtle harmful expressions. As a result, rule-based systems are most effective when supplemented by more adaptive machine learning models. They provide quick wins for certain categories of harm but cannot, by themselves, ensure a robust content safety posture. Recognizing their strengths and limitations helps organizations use them as part of a broader, layered approach to moderation. Hybrid approaches combine the precision of machine learning with the predictability of rule-based filters. By layering multiple detection methods, organizations achieve greater reliability in identifying harmful content across a wide spectrum of contexts. For example, a keyword filter might block the most egregious cases, while a classification model handles subtler instances of toxicity. This combination improves flexibility, as rules can be updated quickly in response to emerging threats while models adapt through retraining on new datasets. Hybrid systems also balance accuracy and speed, enabling rapid detection without sacrificing depth of analysis. They embody the principle that no single method can address all safety challenges, and that resilience comes from redundancy and complementarity. By using hybrid approaches, organizations strengthen their defenses against both obvious and sophisticated forms of harmful content while preserving performance. False positives and false negatives are persistent challenges in content safety systems. A false positive occurs when legitimate speech is blocked, such as when a benign discussion of medical terminology is mistaken for offensive language. False negatives happen when harmful content slips through undetected, like subtle hate speech cloaked in coded terms or misinformation presented in persuasive language. Both outcomes carry consequences. Overblocking can stifle free expression and erode user trust, while underblocking exposes users to harm and undermines safety commitments. The trade-off between precision and recall is at the heart of this issue, requiring careful calibration and ongoing monitoring. Successful content safety strategies acknowledge these risks, seek to minimize them through iterative tuning, and maintain transparency about the inherent limitations of automated systems. This balance is dynamic, evolving as attackers find new ways to evade filters and as cultural standards shift. Human oversight remains a crucial counterpart to automated moderation. While machine learning models and rule-based filters can handle large volumes of content quickly, they often struggle with ambiguous or context-sensitive cases. Trained reviewers provide the nuance that algorithms cannot, particularly for edge cases where intent is unclear or where cultural context is essential. Escalation processes allow disputed outputs to be carefully examined rather than blindly enforced, reinforcing fairness. At the same time, human reviewers face significant emotional burdens, as repeated exposure to disturbing content can cause stress and burnout. Organizations have a responsibility to support these staff members with training, mental health resources, and workflow designs that minimize harm. Human oversight is not a fallback but a necessary partner to automation, ensuring that safety systems are not only efficient but also humane and just. Transparency and moderation enhances accountability and trust between organizations and users. Disclosing policies publicly allows users to understand what rules govern their interactions and why certain content may be restricted. Providing rationale when content is blocked helps users see that enforcement is not arbitrary, and offering appeal processes ensures fairness in cases where mistakes are made. Transparency reports, which detail moderation activity at scale, show stakeholders how consistently and fairly rules are being applied. Such openness not only demonstrates accountability, but also helps mitigate perceptions of bias or censorship. In a global environment where AI-driven moderation can have wide-reaching impacts, transparency acts as a safeguard against both mistrust and misuse, showing that safety is pursued with integrity rather than hidden agendas. Cultural and contextual factors shape how harm is defined and perceived, making global deployment of content safety systems particularly complex. What is considered offensive in one region may be acceptable in another, and language-specific nuances can alter how toxicity is expressed or detected. Policies must be sensitive to local norms and adaptable across regions to avoid imposing one-size-fits-all enforcement. For instance, certain terms may be reclaimed within one community while remaining derogatory in another. Multilingual moderation further complicates the landscape, requiring models trained across languages and dialects. Failing to adapt to cultural context risks alienating users or enforcing rules unjustly. A nuanced approach, informed by regional expertise, helps organizations design systems that respect cultural diversity while maintaining consistent safety standards. Scalability presents a major challenge for content safety, as the sheer volume of content produced across platforms exceeds what any manual team can handle. Real-time moderation at scale demands efficient, automated systems capable of handling millions of inputs without excessive delay. Human reviewers remain necessary, but their involvement must be carefully prioritized for complex or high-risk cases. The cost of scaling human oversight is significant, both financially and emotionally, making automation an essential partner. Regulatory requirements for timely moderation, particularly in sensitive domains like child protection or terrorism-related content, add further pressure. Addressing scalability requires balancing automation, human input, and resource investment, ensuring that systems can grow in line with user bases without compromising effectiveness or ethics. Integration into AI pipelines ensures that content safety mechanisms are not bolted on after deployment, but built into the lifecycle of content generation and delivery. Filters can be applied during generation to prevent harmful material from being created in the first place, while post-processing checks provide another layer of assurance before outputs reach users. Monitoring downstream harm ensures that even if content appears benign initially, its real-world effects are evaluated and addressed. Logging and auditing add accountability, creating a traceable record of moderation decisions and outcomes. This integration reflects a proactive approach to safety, embedding safeguards directly into the system's architecture. By designing pipelines with moderation as a core feature, organizations demonstrate that content safety is inseparable from the fundamental functioning of AI systems. Metrics for effectiveness provide the foundation for evaluating whether content safety measures are truly achieving their goals. Technical measures such as precision and recall track how well moderation systems distinguish between harmful and acceptable content, giving insight into the balance between overblocking and underblocking. Beyond technical accuracy, user trust and satisfaction are critical indicators, as even perfectly accurate moderation can fail if users perceive it as unfair or inconsistent. Reduction in harmful exposure rates, measured by surveys, reporting tools, or downstream analysis, demonstrates real-world impact. Regulatory compliance also functions as a key metric, showing whether systems meet external requirements for content handling and reporting. Together, these metrics offer a holistic view, blending quantitative and qualitative perspectives. Measuring effectiveness ensures that content safety efforts remain focused on outcomes rather than box-ticking, driving continuous refinement and accountability. Automation in moderation has become increasingly central as organizations seek to handle content at scale. Machine learning models trained on harmful examples allow for faster and more nuanced detection than rules alone. Continuous retraining, using fresh datasets that reflect emerging patterns of abuse, helps systems stay current and effective. Integration with feedback loops, where flagged content is reviewed and fed back into training, creates adaptive models that evolve alongside threats. The benefits of automation include improved speed, broader coverage, and reduced reliance on human reviewers for routine cases. Yet, automation is not a panacea. It requires careful tuning, oversight, and transparency to prevent bias or overreach. Used responsibly, automated moderation extends the reach of safety systems while keeping humans available for the most complex or sensitive cases. Ethical considerations remain central to content safety, shaping how policies and technologies are applied. Balancing harm reduction with free expression is one of the most difficult challenges, as overzealous moderation can silence legitimate voices while under-enforcement leaves users exposed to abuse. The risk of over-censorship is especially acute when automated systems lack cultural sensitivity or contextual understanding. At the same time, organizations have a responsibility to protect vulnerable users, such as children or marginalized groups, from disproportionate harm. Transparency helps balance these competing obligations, showing that decisions are made with fairness and accountability in mind. Ultimately, ethics demand that content safety practices reflect respect for human rights and societal diversity, not just regulatory compliance. This perspective elevates moderation from a technical filter to a moral responsibility. Future developments in content safety point toward more sophisticated and wide-reaching systems. Classifiers are becoming better at detecting subtle harms, such as microaggressions or nuanced misinformation that evade traditional filters. Multimodal safety filters, capable of analyzing text, images, audio, and video together, are being developed to keep pace with the diversity of modern content. Governance structures are also strengthening, promoting fairness and accountability across regions and platforms. Increasingly, organizations are collaborating to share best practices, research findings, and even data sets, recognizing that harms often transcend individual systems. These developments signal a maturing field where technological, organizational, and regulatory advances converge to create safer and more equitable digital spaces. As threats evolve, content safety must remain adaptive, collaborative, and forward-looking. Cross-functional involvement ensures that content safety does not remain siloed within a single department. Policy teams play a key role in defining acceptable use and ensuring alignment with legal standards. Engineers build and maintain the classifiers and filters that bring these policies to life, translating abstract rules into operational systems. Human reviewers provide judgment and contextual understanding, bridging the gaps that automation cannot fill. Leadership sets the tone by ensuring that safety aligns with organizational values, allocating resources, and championing transparency. This collaboration reflects the interdisciplinary nature of content safety, where technical expertise, ethical reasoning, and organizational priorities intersect. Without shared responsibility, safety measures risk being inconsistent or ineffective. With it, they become integral to the organization's culture and resilience. Integration with governance frameworks cements content safety as part of the broader oversight of AI systems. Documenting policies and system cards provides transparency about design choices, risks, and safeguards. Publishing regular transparency reports demonstrates accountability to regulators, users, and the public. Audit evidence ensures compliance with legal and industry standards, helping organizations withstand scrutiny and maintain trust. Aligning content safety with AI management systems, such as governance charters or risk registers, embeds it into strategic oversight rather than leaving it as an operational afterthought. This governance integration not only strengthens internal accountability but also signals to external stakeholders that safety is a priority. By linking content safety to governance, organizations affirm that moderation is part of responsible AI practice at every level. Continuous monitoring is essential for keeping content safety systems responsive and reliable over time. Real-time tracking of outputs allows organizations to identify violations as they occur rather than after harm has already spread. Alerts can be configured for high-severity cases, ensuring that urgent issues receive immediate attention. Monitoring also extends to system drift, where models may become less accurate as language, cultural norms, or harmful behaviors evolve. Reviewing drift ensures that thresholds remain calibrated and defenses stay relevant. Adjustments, whether through retraining models or refining rules, must be made regularly to maintain effectiveness. Monitoring is not a passive task, but an active cycle of observation, feedback, and improvement. By embedding this vigilance into everyday operations, organizations reduce blind spots and uphold their commitment to user safety even as contexts shift. Organizational responsibilities extend well beyond the technical implementation of filters or models. Staff must be trained in moderation principles so they understand not only the mechanics of enforcement, but also the ethical stakes involved. Resources must be provided to support both automated and human oversight, from data for model retraining to mental health resources for reviewers. Clear appeal and escalation paths should be established, ensuring that users have recourse when they feel moderation decisions are unfair. Organizations should also encourage openness in policy development, involving stakeholders and experts to keep safety strategies grounded in diverse perspectives. By treating content safety as a shared organizational duty rather than a narrow technical challenge, companies create systems that are more resilient, inclusive, and trusted. Practical takeaways help distill the many moving parts of content safety into actionable insights. First, content safety is essential for protecting users from harm and safeguarding organizational trust. Second, hybrid approaches that combine rules and models are most effective for balancing precision and recall, reducing both false positives and false negatives. Third, human oversight complements automation, providing nuance where algorithms fall short. Fourth, transparency, whether through policy disclosures, appeals, or reports, fosters fairness and user confidence. These principles remind practitioners that content safety is not static, but a process requiring continuous refinement. Approaching it as both a technical discipline and a governance responsibility ensures that protections keep pace with evolving risks and user expectations. The forward outlook for content safety is shaped by expanding regulatory mandates and industry collaboration. Governments worldwide are moving toward stricter requirements for online safety, including mandatory reporting and resilience standards. Cross-industry collaboration is also growing, with companies sharing tools, data, and frameworks to address harmful content collectively. Multimodal moderation, covering text, images, video, and audio together, is expected to become standard as online interactions diversify. Advances in automation will continue, but so too will the emphasis on oversight tools that provide accountability and fairness. This outlook underscores the idea that content safety will increasingly be seen not as a competitive differentiator, but as a baseline requirement for responsible digital services. A summary of key points reinforces the themes of this discussion. Content safety is driven by the need to prevent harm, protect users, and uphold ethical and legal responsibilities. Harm spans toxicity, violence, misinformation, and harassment, each requiring tailored strategies. Policies establish clear standards, while technical methods, rules, models, and hybrid systems translate those standards into practice. Human oversight and transparency remain critical, balancing efficiency with fairness. Scalability, cultural adaptation, and governance integration ensure that safety measures grow with organizations and remain contextually relevant. Together, these points highlight that effective content safety requires both breadth and depth, addressing immediate harms while embedding long-term resilience. In conclusion, content safety and toxicity management are inseparable from the broader mission of building trustworthy AI. They demand a balance between reducing harm and preserving freedom of expression, a task that requires vigilance, adaptability, and ethical judgment. Continuous monitoring, robust governance, and cross-functional collaboration ensure that safeguards remain effective even as threats evolve. Transparency and openness further strengthen trust, making moderation not just a technical control, but a social contract between organizations and users. Looking ahead, content safety will expand into red teaming and safety evaluations, where systems are tested under adversarial conditions to ensure they can withstand not only accidental risks, but deliberate abuse. This proactive stance defines the future of safe, responsible, and resilient AI. Thanks for tuning in to Bare Metal Cyber, your trusted source for cybersecurity educational materials, news, and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.